Dear students, today we are going to learn about the Constitution, its rules and needs of law. Chapter 15, page 122. To understand these chapters, first we shall learn about what is Constitution. A Constitution is a book of rules and principles which helps to run a country. So it is a book that has some rules and principles. So for example, in a school, we have rules and regulation, and every student follows the rules and regulation made by the school authority, and because of that students are very disciplined and they are very good. So imagine if there are no rules and regulation in the school, students will be very indisciplined and it will be very improper. Likewise, for a country, we also need rules and regulation where citizens should follow it so that there will be peace in the society. Thus, we have books of rules and principles which is called Constitution. And this Constitution has detailed explanation on different organs of the government. So, organs of the government are the legislative, executive, and the judiciary. India became a republic on 26 January 1950, and to make the Indian Constitution, there was a group of people who formed a constituent assembly, and in that constituent assembly, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was the chairperson of that committee. The Indian Constitution is very lengthy and it is considered as one of the largest constitution, biggest constitution in the world. And it is a written and open document. Open document in the sense that changes can be made in the Constitution according to the need of time. India is a democratic country, and every country that follows democracy has a constitution, be it America, Japan, or India, Britain. All these democratic country has a constitution. And why constitution is important in democracy is because it provides framework to every government, and it also upholds the rights and duties of every citizen. It also provides equality, peace, and harmony. Constitution is important because it tells us about the structure and organs of the government. And democratic government is all about of the people, for the people, and by people, which means the government must work for the people and they should not misuse its power. Therefore, the Constitution prevents the misuse of power vested in the government. The next is, it also guarantees the rights to protect the minorities against the oppression by the majority, and it also guarantees us the fundamental rights to the citizen in order to protect the citizen against any injustice by the government. Now we shall learn about what are laws and why is there a need for them. A law is a body of rules and guidelines. It is a body of rules and guidelines which is usually enforced through a system, and the word law is derived from a Latin word lerg, which means fixed, followed, regulated, stable, and uniform. Laws are important because it protects people, it solves conflicts, and it also establishes peace. Thus, law helps in smooth functioning of society, and it also establishes peace and order in the society. Therefore, law is important for the smooth functioning of the society. Now, major aspects or main ideas of the Indian Constitution. So, what is written in the Constitution, or what are the ideas that we find in the Constitution? The first is the preamble. The preamble is in the beginning of the Constitution. It is written in the beginning of the Constitution, and preamble is an introduction to the Constitution and is non-justiciable. It contains the political philosophy aims, objectives, and basic purpose of the Constitution. The preamble is called the soul of the Indian Constitution, and in the preamble it talks about the people. It says that our Constitution has been prepared and it gives authority, and it has been given authority by the representatives of the people, and that the people have the ultimate power. The next is sovereign. India is a sovereign nation. Sovereign means our country is now independent and has the right to take its own decision in all matters, both in external and internal. And also the next is socialist. Socialist means Indian Constitution follows the idea of socialism. Socialism means it seeks to give everyone equal opportunities to use the country's resources, and thus it will help reduce the gap between the rich and the poor. The next is secular. India is a secular country. Secular means all religions are treated equally in India, and that no religion is considered more important than others. Indian citizens have the right or have the freedom to practice and preach any religion of their choice, and we should not discriminate anyone on the basis of religion. And also in government offices or government institution, appointments are also not made on religious basis. The next is democratic. We know that India is a democratic country, and in a democracy the people used to select their own representatives. They elect their representatives, and these representatives, they govern as long as the people have faith in them and they are changed, or they may be changed during elections. Now republic. Republic means the state is headed by an elected representative and not a hereditary ruler or king. And India is a republic. In India, the Indian president is elected indirectly. He or she is elected by the elected members of the parliament and the state legislature for a fixed term of 5 years. And thus, it is not a hereditary ruler like the king or queen of England. Now, justice. Justice means fair and equal treatment. Our Constitution provides us for the fair and equal treatment of all citizens before the law. It means that every person should be treated equally and fairly. It also gives us or provides us special economic and political equality for all citizens of India. Is liberty. The preamble, the Constitution, it provides for the liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship to the citizen. It says that people are free to express themselves and choose their own profession. Thus, our Constitution gives us the liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship to the citizens. Now, equality. Equality means all the citizens of India are equal before the law, and any form of discrimination is illegal and punishable by law. Thus, followers of different religion, the rich and the poor, men and women, all are considered as equal before the law, and they are all given equal rights and opportunities. Now the last one, fraternity. Fraternity means brotherhood. Our Constitution promotes brotherhood by establishing a secular state, making everyone equal before the law, and it also prohibits any discrimination on grounds of caste, language, wealth, etc. Thus, all these are some of the major aspects or main ideas of the Indian Constitution. In the next class, we will 25. we will be learning about laws and dissent, and under this we will talk about two events to have a deep understanding about laws and dissent. So what are laws? Laws are rules and guidelines which are enforced through a system, and laws are made for the welfare of the people. Welfare means happiness, safety, prosperity. But sometimes people may not be interested or feels right about the law, since law is about welfare of the people. If people are not happy with the law, people have the right to raise their protest against such a law. So what kind of protest does people use? The people may use media, protest rallies, and marches to raise their voices against such law. Now let us look at example of the Salt Satyagraha 1930. So what is Salt Satyagraha? Salt Satyagraha was a protest used by Gandhiji against the salt tax which was imposed by British, where no individual was allowed to make salt. Therefore, on 12 March 1930, Gandhiji along with his followers walked to Dandi, a village on the west coast of India. He reached Dandi on 6 April 1930. Dandi here he protests against the tax by making salt. It was a challenge to the authority of the British government, and this protest is known as Dandi March, which marked the beginning of the civil disobedience movement. Next is anti-liquor movement. This was a movement led by women in Andhra Pradesh in India. It was a protest against rising number of liquor shops. Why? Because the licensed liquor shops had opened unauthorized counters to increase their sale, so people had easy access to liquor. This resulted in many poor people wasting their money on liquor. Because of that reason, women decided to protest against the sale of liquor. They started an anti-liquor movement. They knew that the ban on liquor shops would not be easy because liquor was an important source of income for the government. However, after much protest, the ban on liquor was imposed by the government. From the above two events, we see that laws bring about social reforms. However, laws cannot stop social evil. In order to change the mindset of the people, we need social awareness. So whenever there are laws, there is bound to be dissent or opposition to it. For example, if a law goes against the interests of a group of people, then that group will protest to express its dissatisfaction. Expressing dissent can take various forms such as peaceful marches, non-cooperation, violent protests, strikes, etc. Sometimes governments are forced to abolish or modify the laws due to such protests. So dissent is an important feature of a democratic form of government. Without this dissenting voice, a democratic government can be a dictator. The Indian Constitution laid emphasis on the main ideals like sovereignty, socialism, secularism, democracy, liberty, equality, fraternity, and integrity, etc., which have been translated into different laws, such as fundamental rights and fundamental duties, and the different laws so that marginalized communities will know their rights, their own rights. So who are the marginalized community? The marginalized communities are the scheduled castes, the scheduled tribes, and other backward classes. Now we shall learn about fundamental rights and fundamental duties. We will first start with fundamental rights. Fundamental rights. The Constitution of India guarantees the fundamental rights to every citizen of India. Fundamental rights are the basic rights which can be enforced in court of law. Under this, we have right to equality, right to freedom, right against exploitation, right to freedom of religion, cultural and educational rights, rights to constitutional remedies. So now right to equality. Right to equality means every citizen is equal before the law, means everybody is equal and no one can be discriminated on the basis of color, gender, race, religion, and region. Means a person should not discriminate another person. The next is right to freedom. It means every citizen has the right to live with dignity and freedom. Right to freedom includes freedom of speech and expression, freedom of assembly, freedom of association or union or cooperatives, freedom of movement, freedom of residence, right to practice any profession, right to life and liberty. So these are some of the freedom that has been guaranteed to every citizen of India. Now the next is right against exploitation. This helps in saving the citizen from exploitation. It prevents the employment of children below the age of 14. It also declares human trafficking and forced labor as crime. The next is right to freedom of religion. It gives freedom to every individual to practice and preach the religion of their choice. It means a person can choose their own religion and also preach the religion. The next is cultural and educational rights. It means every citizen of India has given the rights to get education. Thus, it assures educational rights to every citizen of the country. And every person has the right to follow and preserve one's culture. Under cultural and educational rights, we have right to education, RTE, which means all children between the ages of 6 and 14 have the right to free and compulsory elementary education. Now the next is right to constitutional remedies. It means if any of the rights is violated by the state, the person can approach for justice through courts. If there is no rights to constitutional remedies, then the other rights would have been meaningless. The above mentioned fundamental rights ensure safety and prosperity of the people. These rights help to establish equality, peace, and unity. The President of India can suspend our fundamental rights during emergency. Now, fundamental duties. All rights come with certain duties. The Constitution of India lays down a list of fundamental duties. And these duties are not enforceable by law, but all responsible citizens should follow them faithfully. Some fundamental duties are: abide by the Constitution and respect its ideal and institutions, the national anthem and the flag. Value and preserve the rich heritage of our composite culture, to uphold and protect the sovereignty, unity and integrity of India, to defend the country, to promote harmony, protect and preserve wildlife and natural environment, to develop scientific temper, the spirit of inquiry, to safeguard public property, to protect and preserve the natural environments, lakes, forests, wildlife, etc. So these are some of the duties which should be followed as a responsible citizens of India.